Welcome back, everybody. Anybody that's new here, thanks for joining me today. Today is going to be another one of those simple ones. It's basically, I'm trying to get some of these ice fishing stories that I have in my head on film so that they're not forgotten and that everyone else can enjoy the craziness that is my life when I'm living on the hard water. I mean, that's a story. That's a story. Everything's a story. I have stories about these guys. We all know fishing stories. But today, I'm going to talk a little bit about something you should probably plan for, and not a lot of people do. And that's the thing is, a lot of these stories, I will link them at the end of this video. I will make a playlist for you guys, and I will link it at the end of this video so you can see the other ones. Most of these stories have some kind of like learning curve or like ability to help you guys out in them. And that's what I'm going to do with this one. It's kind of a short one, pretty self-explanatory if you understand it, but let's get into it. All right, well, first things first, DWS Outdoors merch. I have new ice fishing merch. This is last year's Tackle Tip Tuesday. It's got TTT on the back of it. I have a whole playlist of Tackle Tip Tuesday stuff. If you guys want to check that out, just go look through my playlist folders, and I think there's like 32 videos in that one. I did tackle tips on every Tuesday for like a year last year. Go check that out when you get a chance to. Otherwise, pick up some merch, help out the channel. It'll get us out filming more this winter. My goal is to try and get out like the same amount of videos. If you guys don't know this, I've been trying to do about 10 to 12 videos a month. Sometimes it's a little less, and sometimes I get lucky and I get like 15. I think the most I got out is 16. It's really hard to get out and consistently film fishing content, so I've been trying to do a little bit of everything. So go back and check through all those videos. I actually have a playlist that's got every video I have on it. It's just DWS Outdoors. That's got 344 videos in it, so check those out when you get a chance to. But the merch helps out the channel. I film more, I get better equipment, I invest it back into the channel. Everything that I've made pretty much so far, I've invested back into like surviving life and the channel. And I've been doing this for almost 5 years now. I don't plan on stopping anytime soon. A lot of you guys seem to like this stuff. One thing I do have to ask is you guys, if you turn on your bells, or if you did or did not turn on your bell notifications when you subscribe, whatever it is, YouTube will not automatically show you guys all of my videos. So a lot of my videos are so random. Some of them I'll have 3,000, 5,000 views, and I have like 6,000, 7,000 subscribers at the moment, which is awesome, but like only 400,000 of you guys will even watch the video, and half the time it's not even that much. It's only like 10% of you guys. So turn on that bell notification and stop back. I try to put out 10 to 12 videos a month, so you guys have content all month long. And I try to make it different. I do a lot of similar fishing, but for the most part I'm all over the place, and that's just because I like exploring the outdoors. That's why I have this video. This is going to be a story about before I was filming, actually. If you guys know me, I like ice fishing. So this is an ice fishing episode, ice fishing stories from me. And I've lived on the ice my whole life. Anytime I had a chance to, I was ice fishing. I don't know why, but I like it more than anything else. I do enjoy the rest of the year. But long story short, let's get into this. Okay, so I'm going to try and paint a quick picture of how this started, and then we're going to get right into like what you probably should do, what you shouldn't do, and what I did, and why this ended up into a story. It's kind of a crazy one, and I don't know if this has ever happened to any of you guys, anything similar. Comment below. I want to hear what you guys have experienced as far as like being out on the ice and experiencing this kind of stuff. All right, so the setting is I have a lake that I found a basin in. So if you guys don't know about ice fishing and stuff like that, it was midwinter, and a basin is just a round bowl type area. You can have basins that are just like straight across, like valley to valley type thing, but this was a bowl area, and right in the middle of it was like 30 feet, so it was like this perfect thing. So I paced out the middle of it, drilled one hole, and then I drilled like 10, 15 holes around that, kind of at varied depths, all the way to like 20 feet, so out to 30 feet. And I was starting to find, I was crappie fishing. So we'll put that out there. I was crappie fishing. I planned on staying late. My goal was to stay till midnight and see if I could get any big crappie, because a lot of times later at night the bigger crappies show up. You know, you get a bunch of little ones at first, big ones come later. That's not the story. So I plan on staying late. So I didn't even get out there till like 3-4 o'clock, just before dark. I'm finding crappie and they're moving around. So like I'm getting one here and then they move, and then I'm getting one here and they move here, move here, move. So I was just like, whatever. I'll set my shack up. I had a one man at the time, so I just flip it up. So I flip it up and I put it right on the center hole. So I had one hole like dead center in the basin. And like I said, this isn't just about the crappie fishing, but it kind of has to go with what I did. So I'm like evenly spaced from 3 different points of shoreline, and then there's a lake behind me, you know, and it goes about a quarter mile, half a mile back. This lake is kind of in the middle of nowhere. It's got a little bit of housing on it, but most of it's got, what would you call that, marsh and like low-lying lands and some woods around it. So it's kind of like a real naturey like lake, and there's not really a lot of people that fish it. It's not the best lake in the world, but it's kind of like a secluded one, and I like that. Okay, so I set up, I flip myself over in the shack. It starts getting dark. I pick off 2-3 crappie. I get a bluegill. Nothing really happening. But I'm seeing fish move through on my fish finder, and I'm like, all right, I guess I'm going to stay put because these fish are coming through, and there's probably going to be a point at night they turn on. And I'm like, I'll just stick it out. 9 o'clock comes around. They come through. And I'm like, all right, cool. They're staying below me now. I got them interested. I catch a couple big ones, you know, like my version of big for that lake is like 11 to 12 and a half inches. I mean, they're good crappies. I keep 3 of them, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, man, was it snowing? Yeah, it was snowing. And this isn't like my other story where you'll just have to go through my playlist here and watch the other ones, because the snowing part, this is why I was tripping out, because of the other story. But long story short, I'm like, well, it was snowing that whole time. I wonder how much snow we got. And then I get outside, and I look, and we got about 6 to 8 inches of snow. And I'm like, oh, well, that's probably what turned the fish on. Front came through, triggered them, they went off. But now there's no snow. There's crystal clear skies, middle of the night, 9 o'clock at night, and we have a full moon. And I go outside, and I go pee behind my shack. We're going to pretend this is my shack for a second here. And I'm like, well, I got to pee, whatever. Pee behind my shack. Sorry for anybody that's thinking this is ridiculous, but this is the truth. We all do this. Just keep it visual here. Pee behind my shack. So my shack's like this high. So I can sit behind my shack like this and kind of see around everything. And I'm just out of the wind, which happens to be on the south side of the shack, closest to the shore. Looking this way across the top of the shack, I can see all the way down the lake. And I can see like crystal clear all the way down the lake. And it's like daylight almost because of how bright the moon is, and how crystal clear the new snow layer was. It's not disturbed or anything, so there's new snow on the ground. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, well, I'll hang out for a little while, and I will try to catch a couple more. I won't stay till midnight. There's no reason to. I only got like 6 or 7 of them, and they weren't on. And you know, if I don't get action, I just pack up and go. But I turn around and go to step in my shack, so I unzip my shack, and I have a lantern on. And that's what I was using for heat and light at the time. So this is a little while back, but I poked my head in, but right when I poked my head in, I swear I heard a growl or a yip or something. So I popped my head back over my shack again, and I'm looking around back and forth, and then I look, and I have to sit there and focus really, really hard, and I see what looks like a dog trot out onto the lake, and it's a big dog. I mean, it looks like a German Shepherd. And I'm like, oh, well, one of the people, because there's people around the lake that I know have dogs, and they just kind of let them roam around, because we're in the middle of nowhere, so they don't care. The dog goes roam around, the dog comes home, and it's what they do. So I'm like, oh, well, maybe that's a German Shepherd. And then it sits down and howls. And I'm not joking. What this was, like the name implies, it was a coyote howling at the moon, in my eyes, like a stereotypical movie scene. And I'm like, do I gotta worry about that guy? I mean, it's a coyote. I could take him. And I'm like, the only thing I have on me is like a little pocket knife. Like, I always have something like this on me in the winter. It's just a generalized tool, works for everything, and it's a good idea to have it. But this is why having something better than a pocket knife is going to come in handy at some point in my life. Well, hopefully I don't need it. Okay, so like I was saying, I grabbed the pocket knife, and I'm sitting there looking at it like, okay, gauging my ability to take a coyote if he's got me, because I'm all alone on this lake, remind you, and I'm in the middle of it. So there's like, even if I was an elite athlete, and I'm athletic, but an elite athlete, I couldn't sprint to any shore fast enough to beat that coyote away if he decided to do anything about it. And most people will say this. Coyotes are more afraid of you than you are of them. You can like yell at them and they go away. And I've done that before in the woods where like you see one following you trying to figure out what's going on and you just yell at it and they go away. They're more afraid of you usually. Now here's the fun part. So I'm sitting there, this is 5 minutes elapsed, and I'm just sitting there, and that thing was sitting there howling at the moon a couple different times, or what I thought was howling at the moon. And then this is where things get intense. I'm sitting here looking and I'm like, whatever. I mean, I got to go back that way to get off the lake. But if I start walking that way, that guy's going to run away. I'm not worried about it. And as I'm about to crawl in my tent, he howls again. And I just kind of look up. I'm like, that's kind of cool. And here comes a row. I'm not joking, of like 15 to 20. I still can't get it might be a little bit less. It might be a little bit more. But it's just like a train of them come off from the south side of the lake out of like some bulrushes or cattails, whatever you want to call them. And they all come trouting out, and they're all like scattered across the whole lake. So he's in the middle, and they come out this way. And like a couple of them go up to him. So there's like a group of like 5, and then like another group of like 5 kind of spread out this way. And they go towards like where my trail was to go back to my truck. And then these guys are just kind of like meandering around, and they're all kind of like yipping and like playing around and just like walking around. And I'm like, I have never in my life seen more than 3-4 coyotes at a crack. I've seen videos of people around big like packs of them, and I've seen wolves in packs. When they get in a big pack, they hunt, they do the like fake thing, and like one will go here and like 20 will come over here, and that's how they attack. So I'm like, now I'm freaking out. And I'm like, all right, once again, I'm like, what am I going to do with this? I'm just going to piss them off, and I'm going to die because 1 biting teeth, 2 biting teeth, 3 biting teeth, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 20 freaking coyotes. Tell me what you would have done in that situation. Because I was sitting there trying to figure out if it was just smart to leave my stuff there and run to the other shoreline that was like, I don't know, at minimum it was about 200 yards away, maybe 250, 300 yards. Just to end up by, there was like a little business there, or not, I don't know if that was a business or a bar or something like that, and some homes that people actually lived in. Otherwise, it's more vacation homes around the area, and nobody lives around there, and that's why nobody fishes it. So I'm just sitting there freaking out, going, what should I do? I don't know what I should do. What can I do? So I don't know where it came from, but my brain was just like, I know how I can make myself look really big, really quick. And I reach into my shack, and I grab my lantern, and I put my lantern up over my head, and just started walking towards them. And I don't know if I was losing my mind, going crazy or something like that, like, what are you doing? But I just started walking towards them and stomping and yelling. I was like, get out of here, go! And as I was doing that, they kind of like
they split a little bit, but they didn't take off, and they just kind of did this like they moved to the side and like moved around, and then these guys moved to the side, and then I was like really freaking out. I'm like, all right, now they're trying to like quarter me and like find a way to corner me and like get my sides, and there might be some behind me I don't know about. Like, they're hunters, this is what they do. And I'm like, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. And I'm yelling and I'm yelling, and I get about a quarter of the way from where my shack is, so I'm only like, I don't know, probably like 50 yards, 100 yards away from my shack. They're still like a quarter of the way down the lake. And as I'm getting there, I put the lantern down behind me so I could see better, and I noticed that this pack had run across, and now they're all over back where they came from. And I'm like, oh, I might have the advantage. So I just set the lantern down, and I sprinted as hard as I could, because I was like, well, maybe I intimidate him. This is it. That's the only chance you got. And I ran as hard as I could at him. Mind you, this is how crazy this... I just thought about how crazy this whole thing sounds, because I literally did this. I just ran at him, like, get out of here, go! And I was swearing and just yelling as loud as I could, hoping somebody on the shoreline might hear me and like yell at me, and then I could be like, hey, like, help. But I run at them, and like one of them like yipped, and they all took off, and they went right back up. There's a trail. I found it later the next day or the day after that. I went back there fishing during the daytime, and there was a trail back into like the swamps, out into some fields, like way after the swamps. And I looked around when I was leaving. As soon as they took off, I ran back, grabbed my lantern, ran back to my shack, put everything in it, flipped the thing over, put my cover on, held my lantern up, and then I almost ran my shack off the lake. But I had to go down towards where they were, and then take a right to get to my to where I launched my stuff. And the thing is I literally had to walk past where they were. So like, they were here, I had to walk past where they were at in order to get to my spot where I got on the lake, where my truck was parked. And when I got over there and I was holding the lantern up, there were paw prints everywhere. I mean, that entire area of the lake, there wasn't a spot. It looked like, if you have ever seen a show with dog sled dogs, that's all I saw were paw prints like that, just everywhere. Like there was 1,000 dogs, but it was because they were like moving around, and none of them were sitting still. They were all just constantly moving around that area, and had covered the whole lake right there, like, 200, 300 yards in a big circle full of their prints. And when I saw that and realized that I wasn't hallucinating and I was seeing that many out there, I feel like they were interested in seeing what I was, but didn't know what I was, and had an idea of like attacking me. And then when I did all that, I threw that idea out the window, and they took off because they don't know. And I'm hoping the lantern over the head was the thing. Okay, so hopefully today's video is enough to keep you guys... I didn't really say anything in it besides what happened. But the big thing I want to convey is, one, you should probably fish with 2 people if you're going to stay out late at night like I did. 2, maybe carry something better than a 4-inch pocket knife. I don't know what you would carry other than carrying. Those who know, carry. And that would probably prevent something. But even at that, even if you had 16 rounds, right? Think about that. If I had 16 and I dropped 16 of them, there could still be 4 very, very angry things coming at you if you didn't scare them away. But it was one of those scenarios where I was like, I don't care what's going on right now. I don't know how I can prevent this. And I kind of lost my mind because of the fear and was like, it's you or me. And I just went at it, and they luckily ran away. So keep all this in mind the next time you plan on doing a late night fishing trip. I don't hear about this kind of stuff happening often, but I did mention it to a couple older guys, and they said that happens with wolves up north once in a while, where they'll come out and investigate what you're doing, but because you're in a giant open area, they don't want to come at you. I don't know what the real story is behind it, but either way, freaky memory just popped in my head. Had to share it with you guys. Like I said before, this is linked in the description. You guys want to pick up some merch? I have some new stuff. Check it out. I ordered some for myself here, and hopefully the next video you guys see, I have some of that.
I'm excited for it this season because it's a special one for this ice fishing season. So hopefully you guys like these videos. Obviously, if you're not new here, you know what's up. But if you are new, can you please just remember to